Around Town is brought to you by Eastern North Carolina Medical Group. Good health is music to our ears. With office locations at 1041 Noel Lane, Suite 105 in Rocky Mount, 10589 East NC Highway 97 in Joiners Crossing Shopping Center in Rocky Mount, 155 Nashville Commons Drive in the Food Line Shopping Center Plaza in Nashville, North Carolina, 1812 Glendale Avenue, Suite B in Wilson, North Carolina, 903 North Arundel Drive in Zebulon, North Carolina, as well as the ENCMG Lewisburg Oncology Clinic at 216 North Beckett Boulevard, Suite 5 in Lewisburg, North Carolina. Log on to encmg.com today to locate the office nearest you.
Welcome to Around Town. I'm Jean Almand, and I am really, really excited about this interview today. I read some, but I don't read a whole lot just because we're all very busy. This is Larry Williamson. But Larry, you tell me about this book. And folks, I'm going to read you something that really caught my attention. The title of it is Successful Relationships: Sharing Simple Behaviors That Bring Results. But then Larry went on to say, of the regrets I might have at the end of this life, one will not be that I did not let go and give into love fully, giving and fully receiving. It is my hope that no one goes through this life without feeling this. And he goes on in his introduction to say, we have the power to create the life we want in many ways. And I thought, you know, I want to have the life I want. Instead of just reacting, I want to be proactive in how I act and respond. And this 105-page book is fabulous for helping you do exactly that. Larry Williamson, welcome.
Thank you, Jean. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be able to share something that is so meaningful and important to me.
Well,
Thank you.
And as I read it, and I have to say I read it to my husband, and he really liked that you give lots of personal examples. I think one thing that people can relate to so much, because when I was reading about your childhood and how it impacted you, and you had to overcome it in many ways in your learning how to act and respond in relationships. He said, that's exactly the way I was brought up. And that helps when the author is human and shows how you learned by going through something too.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that I think people have a tendency to complicate things far more than they need to be. Mm-hmm. And certainly the concepts that I discuss in this book, it's really about a journey. That's where the personal experiences come from. It's a journey that I've taken throughout my life and will continue for some time now.
Well, let's talk about your background, because you are newly retired from Body Noel, and so you're much more flexible. You had been taking notes that I think you used to put this book together for what, years and years and years of experience with relationships. In fact, the relationships are not, if you're not married, if you aren't even dating anybody or whatever, the relationships are for friends, or for colleagues, or for people in your church. I mean, I really already know that I'm able to react and respond in ways from an I perspective, not demanding something or expecting to have a reaction, but just knowing that I'm planting the seeds to get the results that I want. And I didn't know how to do that, and I should. I mean, people probably say, you know, her age, she should have nailed it by now. But we never nail it. We always can learn, can't we?
We can, and I think we're taught from early on, or self-taught, if we would, how to respond to things. And it seems like a lot of the responses that we provide are about the other individual. I had a client one time that wanted me to work with him about his family relationship, married and 2 children. And after we spoke, and I agreed to work with him, and I said, but there's one condition, and that will be that you and I will never have a conversation about your wife. And he really didn't know how to respond to that. And I told him,
well, she's the problem.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And as I told him,
or he's the problem.
Well, I said, we're all, the challenge or opportunity with us is that the more we seem to talk about other people, the less we avoid having to talk about ourselves. And as I explained to him, we will talk about the behaviors, the words, the beliefs, and actions that are under his control, and those are his, not someone else's. So the more that we can focus on ourselves and evaluate our own behaviors, the greater opportunity we have to influence those around us. I think any time that you try to justify your own behaviors based upon someone else's reaction, then you're headed down a dead-end road.
And we all get into habits, and one of the things I like in this book, you say you can't just stop a habit, you have to replace it with something else.
Absolutely.
Why is that true, Larry?
Well, a habit, you think about a behavioral habit, it's just something we do. And it may not be the best example to use now, but I remember one of the first times I heard that was with people who were trying to quit smoking. It's not only the addiction to the drug, but also then they have a habit of grabbing something with their fingers. So you substitute something they do with that to help. It is part of a process, which again we do go over in the book, that if you want to break a habit, you think about it. You think about the triggers for the habit. You think about what it is you do, and you actually build into place substitutions for those behaviors. And in so doing, you can learn to change a habit out from a bad to a good habit.
Well, I want everybody to learn about your background, because you've had an interesting background and had years and years. You're a master's level coach. And so, folks, he really does know what he's doing in a big way. But I mentioned this to my sister, and she went online and got it, downloaded it. She said, I'll just start reading at night. Well, she, the next morning, texted me. I read it in its entirety, and I've ordered 2 of them, one for each of my kids. And now she's ordered one for her significant other, too. She was widowed, and she's dating a guy, and she said, this is the best way to have the happiest relationship. And again, folks, when he writes in here, I don't want to have a regret that I didn't fully love, but also that I didn't react, say things myself to get the responses to be the happiest I can be. And I have to tell you, at a party the other night for a Tar River Chorus and Orchestra, my husband, I had read this to him when we were riding, and he said, I'm already doing things in there and I'm happier. So, I mean, what a testimonial, for sure.
Well, thank you.
Tell us your background.
Well, I was a military veteran in the Air Force, which led me the opportunity to work in hospitals, did that through undergraduate and graduate school, and then was fortunate enough to be involved or work in pharmaceutical industry. And I was in pharmaceutical industry for about 6 years prior to joining the hospitality industry. It was in that time that I worked a lot with individuals, leadership development and so forth, and got interested in coaching. I did pursue coaching, and as you said a while ago, you know, the master certification, and that comes up a lot when I'm talking with people, and what does that really mean? And I freely say there are a lot of experienced, excellent coaches out there that may not be certified. Why it was important to me, if I were to hire a coach for myself, and I see that they are an MCC, a Master Certified Coach, I know what it was they went through. You know, the fact that it's required for 200 hours of coach-specific training, 10 hours of mentor training from another master, to provide a log of 2,500 hours of logged coaching with a minimum of 35 clients. And there are many other requirements. So when I see that, I know they're serious about it. They've taken the time to dedicate themselves to getting to a certain level. So that's important to me.
And a huge amount of experience. I mean, it not only from everybody, and we're going to give some great examples in here. I love your examples. It doesn't have any pictures, but my husband actually said he didn't miss the pictures because the examples made up for him. But you just have a wealth of seeing how certain things work. And this is kind of the honing of over 30 years approximately of what you've seen working one-on-one with people, and you know what you've seen in many relationships, not only in an office, you've seen them improve tremendously, but also marriages. You've personally seen marriages get saved.
Yes, I have, and it's what a blessing to be involved in something like that. Over the years, I really had the honor and the privilege of supporting thousands of people, not only through my corporate experience, but through private coaching, clients all over the world. And it was interesting that in all of my conversations, relationships seem to be a very common topic. It's all about relationships.
Everything we do all day, every day.
It really is.
We're relating to people.
Absolutely. And one of the reviews I got on back on the book that I really enjoyed, it said, well, when I first started looking at the book, I didn't think it was going to apply to me because I'm single. And she went on to say that it was probably one of the best self-help books she'd ever read, because she began to look at being in a relationship with herself and how she spoke to herself, how she reacted to things, and how much it helped her. So that was really rewarding to hear that.
And we all need to tighten up. You and I were talking the other day about when someone gives a person a compliment.
Yes.
A lot of people say, "Oh I'm getting ready, need to have my hair cut. It doesn't look good." Wherein what we ought to say is thank you.
Yes,
because that makes
absolutely.
you feel better for giving the compliment, but it also, we don't have to put ourselves down.
Yeah, I think that it's been interesting, and that's been a very common topic with individuals, is that we do have a tendency to reflect or push away when someone compliments us. And you think about it, and why is that? You know, that as you said, if I compliment somebody on their hair and say, gosh, your hair looks nice.
Thank you, Larry.
Yes, yeah. And very common. It's, well, yeah, I plan to get it cut tomorrow. You know, and it's, why not just say yes? It is, the more that we become comfortable with accepting a compliment, I think the more comfortable we become in being able to give them. And that's a huge part of this, particularly in relationships. You know, I think that there should not be a day that passes, and there's not with Carolyn and I, that we don't compliment something. Pick out something that we appreciate. It was important enough for me to have a whole chapter on appreciation and gratitude. And I find that the more I appreciate things, the more appreciative I become. And the more appreciative I become, the greater my feelings of gratitude for what it is that I have. So it's such a simple process. As I said earlier, I think that people have a tendency to complicate things far more than they need to.
And this is simple.
And it is, and that was the purpose of it. It's time to simplify. I think building incredible, successful relationships are far less complicated than we think they are, and far less difficult than we may have been told over time.
Somebody asked me something about how reacting to seeing something, and I said, no, I choose what I react to.
That's exactly right.
It doesn't matter that much. I'm good. I can just go with it. And another thing, Larry, that I have found, and maybe this is part of my Christian journey, when I meet somebody new, I look for something that I can compliment them about.
Wonderful.
Almost as a way to bond, but also I want to make them feel good and that I'm paying attention to them.
Yes.
And that's really something that you can learn as a life skill. And people aren't used to it.
No.
And they really, it's kind of, I know we're going to take a quick break, and I want you to give the example of what you did to a lady when you were checking out.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
And what happened after that. But let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Around Town is brought to you by Eastern North Carolina Medical Group. Good health is music to our ears. With office locations at 1041 Noel Lane, Suite 105 in Rocky Mount, 10589 East NC Highway 97 in Joiners Crossing Shopping Center in Rocky Mount, 155 Nashville Commons Drive in the Food Line Shopping Center Plaza in Nashville, North Carolina, 1812 Glendale Avenue, Suite B in Wilson, North Carolina, 903 North Arundel Drive in Zebulon, North Carolina, as well as the ENCMG Lewisburg Oncology Clinic at 216 North Beckett Boulevard, Suite 5 in Lewisburg, North Carolina. Log on to encmg.com today to locate the office nearest you.
Thank you for staying with us, Larry Williamson, and I cannot recommend this book more highly. Again, when my sister, I told her, and literally, some of you have heard this, but I'm going to say it again, she was going to buy it online and start reading it. She said, I couldn't stop. I read the entire thing stayed up a little later than she might have, and ordered 2 more for family members. And I quite frankly plan to get a
Wonderful.
couple more of these for my sons who are married. I just think these are ways to help you be happier, folks. And my husband literally said, I'm doing it and I like myself better.
Good.
Because, and you have to learn techniques, but they're easy. And the simplification of the way you simplified it. Larry, I want to, and we're going to do the example in just a second.
Okay.
What's the difference between a counselor and a coach?
Well, let me talk about a coach. What
Okay.
a coach does is that where a coach honors the fact that you are your own best resource.
Okay.
As a coach, I never tell anybody what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't offer solutions. Through the use of powerful questions and other techniques, I help you come to the reality, become aware of really your own direction, where it is you are now, where it is you would like to go, and then support you in designing a path to get there. So with coaching, it's really about the individual, which is what I really like. If I were to offer a suggestion for something, if it didn't work out, you'd be much quicker to turn away from it. When you come up with something, you own it. It's your idea. You're more committed to it. And then the level of satisfaction once you achieve what it is you've identified is wonderful. And then you carry that forward. So it's a great way to support individuals in moving forward.
Well, and the support, you're absolutely right. When I read this book, I felt supported that it's okay for me not to choose what I react and respond to,
Yeah.
and choose what I say and how I say it, and also to let go that I can't control other people. I've
Yeah.
tried, and you have too. We all have, of course, but
Yes.
but as long as we are honoring ourselves and really trying to elicit because of how we knowing what we want and the happiness we want, I mean, you can put it into practice, folks, and see immediate results. Tell them what you did when you were checking out. I think that's wonderful.
Okay, yes, with Carolyn. And so many of the things in here, there's nothing in here that's new, earth-shattering, that people don't really know. But I think what it does, it helps make you aware, and it brings to a conscious level many of these practices. And a lot of the things in there, these were not natural for me. I really had to work at this. Complimenting was one. I spent far too much time looking at my, conversations about me or so forth. And so many efforts being made because of examples that I learned from other people, of complimenting other individuals about anything. You're excellent at that, and it was difficult for me. So I had to learn
Especially in
that.
front of other people. Like if you're going to compliment
Yes.
your spouse or your significant other, do it in front of other people. It's much more
Yes.
important.
And the example that Jean is talking about, my wife and I were in a grocery store. She had forgotten one item and went back to pick it up. So as I approached the cashier, I looked at her and I said, I know working in the public, you have a lot of different people that come through here during the course of a day. And she said, oh, yes, I do. And I said, well, I imagine that's a real challenge, and I'm sure that it can be exhausting throughout the day. And she said, yes. And I said, well, today is your lucky day. You're going to have somebody come through your line in a few moments that is the sweetest, most wonderful lady you have ever met. Just being in her presence is going to lift you up. It's going to put you in such a wonderful mood. You're going to think about it and smile for the rest of the day. Just about the time I had finished doing that, Carolyn approaches. Well, the sad part about our society is that people are not accustomed to listening to an individual speak of their spouse in that way. It was unlikely, I felt, that she wasn't going to say something. It's almost like they have to say something once they hear it, which she did. And as Carolyn approached, she looked at her and she said, you're not going to believe what he was saying about you. And Carolyn looked at her and said, yes, I would. He does it every day.
Wow.
And that was the breakthrough that made me feel so good that we were actually getting somewhere now with this, in that she was beginning to accept and own some of these wonderful traits that she has that I was bringing to her attention.
Well, we're taught to be modest, and I think that's part of it, and not to, if you tell me something nice, then I think, no, I can't acknowledge that, or that I would be boastful. That's almost a little bit of the pushback there, but in reality, when I compliment you and say this is an incredible book, I want you to reaffirm my compliment by saying thank you.
Yes,
and so that's the response that people want to hear from you, but it does take retraining, it does take concentrating, but the feedback and the results are just amazing. Somebody said something to me about, I said, thank you for doing so-and-so. And the response was, well, don't I always do it? Well, of course not. And so what I said was, thank you for doing it. I just didn't go there. I just said, thank you so much for doing it. I'm not going to banter over it. I'm just going to, when I see something I like, I'm going to acknowledge it and say thank you.
And when someone pays you a compliment, I mean, they are really, it's such a wonderful thing. It's a great act. And they're putting something that they don't have to do, but they're putting it out there. Why would we want to throw that back in someone's face?
Right. And it's an encourager too. I mean, if somebody's going to notice that if I do something, then I'm probably going to want to do it more often, which is another part of that technique
absolutely,
too.
Absolutely. So when someone says, and it can be sometimes a challenging thing, unfortunately, just to learn to say, thank you, I really appreciate that. That's meaningful that you noticed that.
I had mentioned to you when we talked earlier that I wish every organization could afford to have a relationship coach. Because corporately, how is it beneficial?
Well, I think a relationship is a relationship. Every one of us are in relationships. And basically our interactions and everything, it all goes back to relationships. The principles that are covered in this book, though I originally wrote it for couples, it's the same principles that apply to any relationship we're in. So business or personal, it doesn't really matter. It's the treatment of people.
And I think the part in here about conflict resolution and your approach to that, I love that. Share that, Larry.
Yeah, I was approached one time early on about offering a program in conflict resolution. And my response was, well, I really don't focus on conflict resolution. They said, well, I thought for sure that would be something you would do. And I said, well, why would I want to spend all my time, energy, and effort trying to resolve something that I may have been able to prevent in the first place?
Right.
So therefore, my focus is on conflict prevention. I think our society as a whole is so wrapped up in conflict resolution, when reality is so much of that may have been able to be prevented in the first place.
By just learning how to interact. And what types of things now are you doing? I guess you're doing some leadership programs, some other programs, or what are you, because now that you're retired, I would think that you would be in great demand.
Yeah, I say rather than retired, shifting from one to another. But yeah, the opportunity to be able to present some of the concepts here and the warmth in which it has been received has been very rewarding. I do have 2, if not 3 other books that I'm starting to work on now.
Great.
So, and I've had a lot of requests for it. It's interesting that although this is about relationships, there are many that look at it from a business perspective, and they've asked me if I would focus specifically toward business. I guess make it more palatable for an organization.
Right.
So that'll be one of them.
And I like that it's 105 pages.
Yeah.
I mean, that helps, and I'm going to go back and reread it. And actually, I read the book going out of town and back to my husband in the car, and I expected him to say, let's stop partway through, because, just have somebody read to you. He was so engaged with it that literally he would give me feedback, he would laugh, he would say, well, he's like me, or just all sorts. It's very, very personable, and it's very easy reading. So try and keep them short. I think people don't like these big, hunky, deep things. I think the simplicity of the fact that, wow, I can do that, and I can do that immediately. It's important.
If you're going to write a book on sharing simple behaviors, I think it It pays to keep it simple, straightforward. We make the reading easy, simple, straightforward, so that people can relate to it and understand it. And I hope by doing that, we'll really have the opportunity to impact a lot of relationships.
And Larry, one of the things that really pleased me so much about meeting you, and we hadn't been friends very long, folks, but we're friends going forward from now on. This book is more about helping people lead happier lives to you. This is real personal to you, isn't it?
It really is. Yes, it is. I've had such a pleasure, as I said, of working with so many people, and I have seen so many of these concepts have a tremendous impact. When somebody that has been married for 30 years, and I was sharing information for their children who are getting married, and I get a response back that says, well, yeah, we're sharing it, but my wife and I, we're the happiest we've been in 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's intrinsically rewarding to me. I get a lot of pleasure out of that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and that would make a person really happy, because they think that, because there are a lot of people, and when I was sharing this book with people, they said, oh, I could use that. I said, no, you could. Everybody could use this. I mean, these are techniques and ways to react to friends, spouses, colleagues, everything that anybody can benefit.
It goes across the board. And like I said, I've tried to keep it simple, keep it short, and it is personal. In this book, I share my journey.
You do.
And that's what this is. It's a journey for each and every one of us. And we're never there. We never reach it.
No.
But as long as we're cognizant of this and we're working toward it, we have room to improve and make it better every day.
We do.
So I really celebrate that.
Well, and when you said you weren't there yet, I thought, wow, it's okay, I'm not there yet then. But I want to be in charge the rest of my life and create happiness as I see and know how I should, avoid conflict and help other people around me be happier. And what a gift. Yeah,
embracing the vision of the tomorrow we choose to create. That's my tagline, and that's really what this is about. It's your choice. Decide you're creating your tomorrow anyway. Do it consciously.
And where can people get this book?
You can go to my website, which is www.anchoredvalues.com. You can also go online to Amazon, Books A Million, or Barnes & Noble, and if you would, just type in the name of the book and my name, and it'll lead you right to it. It's in hardback, paper book, and ebook.
And be prepared to want to get lots of them and send them to all your family members too.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Jean. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you. We'll see you next week.
Around Town is brought to you by Eastern North Carolina Medical Group. Good health is music to our ears. With office locations at 1041 Noel Lane, Suite 105 in Rocky Mount, 10589 East NC Highway 97 in Joiners Crossing Shopping Center in Rocky Mount, 155 Nashville Commons Drive in the Food Line Shopping Center Plaza in Nashville, North Carolina, 1812 Glendale Avenue, Suite B in Wilson, North Carolina, 903 North Arundel Drive in Zebulon, North Carolina, as well as the ENCMG Lewisburg Oncology Clinic at 216 North Beckett Boulevard, Suite 5 in Lewisburg, North Carolina. Log on to encmg.com today to locate the office nearest you.